to implement. I provided you a table here identifying what I read in the code to be proposed code amendments. There's a lot of recommendations in there that talk about doing additional studies, reprogramming facilities, potentially relocating facilities, implementing programs and committees. These are what I read as being the ones that actually are recommended code amendments. I have identified by bolding those recommendations that the CPC had identified as concurrent with comp plan adoption, meaning the shortest time frame. Also, I have identified 2 in green that I am recommending we work on. I think these are zoning that we can get done in the time allotted. We do want to have an adoption of zoning by April to meet grantor requirements. The one that I'm identified in red is the one that is most controversial, and I'm not recommending we work on that one until the comp plan is adopted, and then have a separate public process to go through that and work on that. That's D6. So essentially, those are the 2 tasks that we have to go through tonight. So if you want to start out, if anybody has any questions or suggestions with regard to the draft you received by the CPC, we could certainly go over those now.
Why don't you start with reviewing? So basically everything you've highlighted in black, you're recommending that we do adopt those along with the comp plan?
No, that's what the CPC recommended be adopted. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a limited amount of budget for doing zoning. I think we can accomplish 2 or 3 of the recommended zoning. Okay. We have about, if we're going to meet the grantor deadlines, we have about 2 months tops, I would say.
So you're saying the ones in green are the 2 that we should?
Those are the ones that I'm recommending, and those are recommendation E6, which was to require structures in special flood hazard areas of the Hudson River to be elevated by an additional 30 inches. And E7, which is allow flexibility for how height is measured by the village's zoning local law to allow flexibility for structures required to provide added flood-free voids. They kind of go together. The one requires higher elevation. The second allows for that higher elevation without sort of capping you where you are now. Right? You would be squeezing structures and be more difficult for them to get a second story in.
So based on time and money restrictions, why don't we just concentrate on those 2 to concur with the adoption of the plan? Is everyone concur?
Well, so I have a couple of questions about it. The first, and I think most profound question is it a requirement of the Department of State funding that we can currently adopt any zone changes, or are we able to draft zoning changes and consider them in the future after the adoption of the plan? And I think I see someone in the room that might be able to answer that.
Drafting is enough.
Drafting is enough. Great.
Okay.
And then the second comment I would have is E6, require structures in special flood hazard areas of the Hudson River. That should include the Titus Park Hill as well, because they're essentially the same elevations that we're dealing with.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. I think that was the intent of the CPC, yeah.
And then there's also E11, which is not in green, but I think is also something we should consider as a priority. The amending stormwater management standards to impound runoff from larger storms, because we have been experiencing storms that far exceed the engineering standard that we're using right now. So I don't know how complicated that would be to draft. Is it possible that 3 of them could be drafted?
Yeah, I think we could probably fit that one in too. I was a little nervous about it because I will have to bring in somebody from my engineering side of my firm to just make sure I'm doing it correctly. Yeah, that there's no unforeseen. I would think that it'd be referring to the model storm.
Yes.
As far as what things are sized for, but I could double check.
Is there enough funds left to do that?
No, but I'll do it anyway. Been saying that a lot for a while. And as a fallback, maybe the next one is F3. If we're not able to do the ones for the impoundment of stormwater, we can look at your steep slopes regulations.
Well, we do have some FAR restrictions based on the slope.
You have a lot. I mean, I had the opportunity to review an application proposed over steep slopes, and it's actually surprising how many different requirements around the zoning deal with development on steep slopes. If anything, I think the object would be to sort of put them all in one location, because some of them are in environmentally sensitive areas zoning, some of them are in a lot of areas zoning, so.
And sadly enough, Orangetown, who is up the hill from us in certain areas,
Doesn't have it, right? Okay, so I mean, certainly I don't think we need, if everybody concurs with that approach, I don't think we need any sort of action. In fact, I don't know if we're even allowed to take action, but yeah,
Right.
yeah, I don't think we do.
Okay.
So other than that, again, we're here to entertain any questions you might have had on the comprehensive plan. We did discuss possibly another workshop if you felt it was necessary. Otherwise, I think our public hearing is already scheduled.
Yep,
And,
April 8th, 7:30 p.m.
And if you're comfortable with the plan in its current form, we can just move toward that public hearing.
Okay.
I think we'd be better use of budget to look at the E11 than have another workshop.
What's that?
I think it would be better use of budget to look at E11 than to have another workshop.
Yeah, totally. Yes. All right, so then basically you'll start working on the drafting of these.
Yes, well, these draftings, and I will also be working on the secret part 2, the part 3 and the next deck.
Okay. Sounds good. We have a board meeting on the 15th. So I guess is that what we're aiming for a vote on?
If you're satisfied after the public hearing,
After the public hearing.
it would be my intent for you to adopt the neg deck at the public hearing.
Okay.
And if you did that, you could adopt the zoning that night, you could adopt it on the 15th, whatever you were feeling comfortable with. Zoning and comp plan.
Right.
Because this will be the secret for both.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions?
Just to be clear, we're not going to deal with downtown zoning at this time. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
I think Max made that pretty clear.
Yep.
All right. Anything else need to be discussed?
None for me.
All right.
Do you have any questions?
Should be directed to do E6 and E7 unless it's passed and vote.
E6, E7, E11, if we're able to get the engineering support we need.
Right.
If not, F3.
Very good.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Max.
You're very welcome.
Making a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jake is
Very good. Sylvia, sound good? Right on?
I haven't sent one in 3 months. I'll send you one since you're asking so nicely. Since I can actually say we're 100% on the contract. Yeah. Don't split hairs. He's working on like
Be fine.
Yeah. You got it forward? Wow. Oh, yeah. We got it for, Dobbsbury. Yeah. That was about, I can't say $4. You ever eat overflow?
Definitely around.
You know what I find is they're not identifying like $7 million projects. The state doesn't want to award something if you're not really showing $1 million for the project. I went nuts. I was playing notes for most of that. That's what the record is 7-11.